Hello. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining the podcast, How to Play the Game of College today. Super excited about my guests today. This past few weeks, you've been hearing some great interviews, and I want to make sure that they continue and really bring a diverse group of panelists in today. So again, I'm super excited to have Dr. Hollins. Welcome to the podcast today, Dr. Hollins.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Again, it's always good when you interview a friend. A fun fact, we actually attended Middle Tennessee State University together and now get to work, alongside each other in our various roles in higher education. And so without further ado, I just want to introduce Dr. Tachaka Hollins. Is the Assistant Vice-Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the Tennessee Board of Regents. And so I'm going to get her to kick off today, just telling you a little bit about herself and how she really got to the role that she's in today. Again, welcome, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boyd. So my journey and the role that I took was not a straight line. It was a couple of stops, railroads, and all of that that I had to overcome. But I do currently serve at the Tennessee Board of Regents, as you stated, as the Assistant Vice-Chancellor for Academic Affairs. And in that role, I provide strategic support and resources to our 27 technical colleges, as well as 13 community colleges in the space of career and technical education programs. And what that means is everything related to developing programs, curriculum management, changing programs or curriculum because they need to align with the needs of the workforce. That is my role. That is what I do. And then accreditation and policy analysis for our institutions as well. So I wear a huge hat. No 2 days look the same. But how did I get here? That is the $1 million question. And I would have never thought growing up that this would be the career that ended up choosing me, I guess I should say. I am a first generation college student raised by a strong mother. At the time, I don't think that I valued or even recognized the lessons that she was teaching me, being a single mother. And while she didn't have the academic preparation behind her, she had some other skills and lessons behind her that taught me so much that has helped me navigate through all of this. So when I say first generation, going into the university setting, there was a lot of exciting, there were a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And I couldn't call home and say, Mom, I'm dealing with this at college, or can you help me navigate this? And she would have words of encouragement for me. What she would do is translate it into lessons that she's learned and experiences she's had in her life. And from that, I would have to pull out, how do I move forward? How do I navigate this? And, I had to grow up a little faster than my peers. As a result of that, I am the oldest. I have a younger brother. Okay. And still to this day, he says I'm his second mother because Mama worked with 3 jobs. That's what she had to do. So there were things at the house that I was handling. I mean, I was paying my mom's bills. She worked and he would say, well, can you write this check for me? So that informed her asking me to write these checks for her to help her do things around the house. That originally informed what I thought I wanted to do in college.
Okay.
I was always academically astute, always great grades in high school. So I, based on the advice of a high school teacher, I really dug into accounting, and I love numbers. Okay. I love numbers. I had a great high school accounting teacher in my accounting 1 class, but when I got to an accounting 2, she encouraged me to compete in DECA for accounting.
Okay, right.
And that was, it was like, okay, I think that's what I want to do when I go off to college, because all of that happened during my high school years. And although I did great in school with grades, I was not a good test taker.
Okay.
So ACT score. And that is something that I really, when we talk how to play this college game, I really want to emphasize, don't get discouraged. ACT and SAT scores, because they can be discouraging when you don't make that minimum benchmark. And so again, a math whiz. So I did really well in math on the ACT, but made less than a 17 on the English portion.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so as I'm preparing to go to college, all that I kept hearing was, you're going to have to take developmental. It was called developmental when I was
Yeah, I remember.
developmental English. And I didn't know what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew is I was going to have to take something before I could actually get into my college courses.
So true. Yeah.
And again, not at that time in high school, not really recognizing the value of mentors, and you're not even calling them on. You don't know that they're a mentor, but they're advising you. And one of my high school teachers, she said, you know, you could take that course at the local college.
Yeah.
Or you go off to the university so that when you do go to the university, you will
be ready to
start on it. And so that's what I did over the summer. Graduated on like May 18th. And June 1st, I started it at Montlow, and I took a 6-week developmental English class. I went to school Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And did what I had to do and came out with 100. I made an A in that English class.
Man.
But again, don't get discouraged.
Right.
And recognize those small lessons. Like I stated, I was first generation. So I couldn't call my mom when I was at college and that sort of thing. But she taught me what tenacity looked like. She taught me what resilience looked like. And all of that got me through my undergraduate experience.
So great story, Dr. Hollins. And as long as I've been knowing you, I'm like taking notes, like I didn't really realize how much we had in common. You know, of course, I'm a first generation college student. Again, in your first, answer to the question, I liked how you talked about, don't give up. There are so many students, and that's why I want to really, number one, wrote the book. But more importantly, I want to like bring the book to life with folks like yourself, who's like sharing their stories, they're being transparent. And a lot of times when we have students, they see us where we are now, but not really knowing the journey that it took, the curves, the bumps, the pitfalls to really get to this place today. So again, thank you for sharing that. And with that being said, I know you mentioned in your first question or response that you work with some of our technical colleges here in Tennessee. A lot of students in chapter 1 in the book, I talk about the right college fit, right? And so that's usually when I'm out speaking to students, they're asking like, hey, I'm looking at a 2-year institution, community college. I'm looking at a 4-year. You got HBCUs, you got private, you have technical colleges. Let's talk briefly about why a student should even look at a technical college.
Absolutely. Let me start here because I think that there is a perception of technical colleges versus a community college versus a university. From my perspective, anything beyond high school is college.
So true.
So you're still going to college. You are still continuing your education beyond high school, and it's going to secure you a career in your chosen field. So I do want to start and say, when we're talking college, we're talking those experiences that you're going to have that are going to enrich you through education beyond high school.
So true. Yes.
And so when we look at why a university or why traditional college versus technical college, takes me back to some outdated advice that likely you received. I know I received it. I always say the old rule of thumb no longer applies. We were told, go to college, study hard, get good grades, get a degree, get a job. And everything everything will just land right for you.
Right.
And that advice did work well for a lot of many generations. It did work well. But that's simply not the case, simply not the principle that we can advise our young adult on, because today's workforce, today's world is just so much more complex. And so we've got to guide today's student, today's learner, with some clear guidance around what does it take to make a good college and career decision. So you're making a college and a career decision. Sometimes, people choose a college because they're like, I want to go to Well, now you got to make a college and career decision.
Man, I like that.
The two of those should be intended. It should enable you to lead a fulfilling, a purposeful life where you can provide for you and your family. That is what we should be talking about. And so, you know, when I think about traditional higher ed or traditional college versus technical college, it boils down to, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What is your preferred learning style? Dr. Boyd, I didn't know what a learning style was until I got into my master's degree. So I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes. And Dr. Hollins is in the book because, like you said, we found out kind of later in life.
Yes.
But we wanted, that's so important. And I wanted to put that chapter in the book, like how do you learn best? It's key. Yeah.
It is. So it is.
Yeah.
I think a part of that is a part of the equation to figuring out what an individual will want to do in life. Because, of course, as we know, our technical colleges are a lot more hands-on. When I look at so early on in this interview, I spoke about me originally choosing accounting as a major.
Right.
A couple of years into that major at MTSU, I changed.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to be frank, because students will experience this as well. One of the reasons that I changed, not that I couldn't do it. An accounting major had to take 4 levels of accounting.
Wow.
And by the time I got to the 3rd level, I was interested in Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And what I knew about accounting is that I got to study.
Right. Exactly.
And I started questioning, like, do I want to look at numbers for the rest of my life?
Right.
Remember going into my advisor, and I had established relationships. So that is something else. Established relationships.
Okay.
I had gone into my advisor and I said, I would love to be an accountant. By the time I got to the first semester of my junior year, I'm in my major courses. So you've got to buckle down. It's real. It's not fresh. Yeah. This is real. Everything counts.
Right.
And I said, is there another major that I can change to without losing credit? So I knew that much. And I knew that from our University 101 class. They taught us how to University 101.
So true. Yes.
I didn't want to lose credits, but I knew that there were certain things that I liked to do. And we talked through different majors, and I ended up changing to computer information systems and arrived in that program.
Okay.
And later in life, I realized I am hands-on.
Yeah.
I am a hands-on. That's the reason I did so well in that program. I was non-traditional in so many different ways. Black female in a male-dominated industry. And so I say all of that to say, if students and parents can really take a close look at how does your child learn? How do they prefer to learn? And start exploring colleges and career decisions based on that. That would be advice.
Yes, great piece of advice. And like you said, really starting with the end in mind. And I love the part how you said, I feel like I need to put that on a T-shirt. College career, right? Because I think, I met with a group of students a few weeks ago, and, everybody, when I asked that come and go, why are you in college? I think everybody in the room said to get a job, right? But again, when we're picking colleges, it's like we put the job kind of last on the list, and we look at everything, the dorm room, right? We look at the union, the university center, but really putting both together is so, so very important. So thank you for sharing that. As we talk about mentorship, right? And I know that, again, I know you personally, I know you had an intern pretty much in the, THEC or TBR, right? That kind of got you into this space. Do you mind kind of talking about, a lot of times students say, hey, I don't know if I should do an internship if I'm in school, or just maybe a mentor that really had an impact on your life and why?
Well, I would not be here if it were not for mentors along the way. And I was blessed with having mentors in my academic major, well as in various student support services throughout MTSU's campus. And so one of my faculty members, Dr. Greer, I don't think that she's still at MTSU. I've been trying to, or I've not been able, but Dr. Greer, her and I just made a connection. And, after being in one of her classes, I ended up taking her for about 2 or 3 classes.
Okay.
And she saw something in me. I just really was intentional because I could tell she believed in me and she would encourage me and she would have, different opportunities that were presented before me. One thing that I did in undergrad that still to this day, I didn't understand the magnitude, is she selected me out of all the students in the computer information systems major. She selected me to be the student representative on the computer IT task force.
Wow.
Some of those nice computer labs that we had at MTSU at that time, they had a student representative on there that would advise from a student's perspective.
Okay. Man.
And I served on that for an academic year because she recommended me to serve.
Okay.
And so what I would say is it's so important to have a mentor in your major. It's important to have a mentor in your support student services. I just saw Dr. Metcalf over the weekend.
Yeah.
He took me under his, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
He took me under his wing and he put me in mentor programs. Once I got to a point where I'm like, my college load is too much and I'm working. I said, well, I'll put you as a supervisor. So you only receive things that get escalated to you.
Right.
It kept me involved. It kept me engaged.
Yeah.
And having people around you that believe in you, that encourage you, that put opportunities before you. And it was also Dr. Greer that said, are you familiar with the co-op office over in the KUC? She told me the gentleman's name. She said, go over there because a lot of our students get co-ops at different companies in the Murfreesboro and Nashville area. You need that experience. Scheduled my appointment, went over, talked to Mr. Rowland, who ran the co-op office. And Mr. Rowland and I just got to talk in personal life. And it turned out that Mr. Rowland was from the same hometown as mine and had gone to school with my aunt.
Wow. Very small.
He immediately took care of me. I worked at the VA for 2 years.
Wow.
While in undergrad. I mean, I was earning a salary.
Man.
College. Now, I worked full-time. School full-time.
Right.
But again, it's about having those mentors that believe in you and not saying no. I never said no to an opportunity. Now, sometimes I say yes, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to navigate this. But I did not say no because I trust. It was a trusting relationship.
So true.
Trusted me to share the opportunity with me. And if you trust me to share that opportunity, I'm going to show you that I'm going to, there's a reason why you trusted me, believe in me, and I'm going to make good on that. So yeah, those mentors, and again, different pockets, because different mentors are going to have different advice, different resources, different opportunities for you. So I would just encourage that.
So true. And again, as you're talking about the power of mentorship is so important. A lot of times students, hey, I got this by myself. I can navigate college alone. You can't. You need that village, and like you said, especially if you're a first generation college student, when you can't pick up the phone, call mom and say, hey, how do I change majors? Or, I'm having issues with financial aid. Mentorship on campus is so, so key. And like you said, just really in life. And I know both of us still have really powerful mentors in our lives, even in our professional lives, to really help us to navigate career choices and just day-to-day things that we go through. So again, Dr. Hollins, I'm sure you read the book, but it's a chapter in the book that really talks about the power of mentorship. So a word to y'all folks, get you a mentor. Last but not least, we want to talk about the value of college, right? And you kind of talked about it a little earlier, but in 23, now we'll be in class of 24 next year. And as we look at the data across, the state and just across the country, a lot of folks are just not going to college for various reasons, right? And so what advice, if you're talking to a young person that's listening to this podcast today, that's kind of on that line and say, hey, I can work at Amazon, make $20 an hour, I'm good. What type of advice would you give them if they're kind of thinking about college, but might want to go to Amazon right now and just put off college? What type of advice would you give them?
Well, my immediate advice is you can work at Amazon and go to college. It's about the long game. Immediate gratification, we can get that a lot of times, but if you want to look at the long game and where you will be financially going to college and following a path, and nowadays things are just, cost of living is expensive.
So true.
Affordability is a factor I know that plays into a lot of folks' decisions about whether to go directly into the workforce versus going to college.
Right.
And I would say this, colleges are doing a better job of creating career ladders or career pathways, on and off ramps, lifelong learning opportunities. I look at, just to give you an example, I look at dual enrollment students that are dual enrolled at a TCAT in welding technology. That is the highest enrolled dual enrollment program for TCATs across the state. We've got high school students that will start out dual enrollment, come to us, and by the age of 19, 20 years old, they are a welder.
Wow.
Field making $80,000, $90,000 a year.
Man.
And so what does that was, no more than a year of sacrifice in order to make that type of wage. And let's say you are a welder. You're, welding 4 or 5 years, and then you say, I'm ready for that next level. I'm ready to be a supervisor now. I'm ready to be a manager. We've intentionally created pathways into the community college where you could take that year-long technical diploma that you completed at the TCAT and apply that toward an associate's degree. And you may only have a year left at the community college in order to get that associate's degree. You complete that associate's degree, and I'm a manager for a couple of years. And now, I'm starting to make decisions about family.
Right.
Now, having children, and because my family is now expanding, I need more to earn more of a living. Now you've got credentials that you're put in the door to being on an accelerated path to a bachelor's degree. We have intentionally created those pathways from a TCAT to a community college into the university so that you're not starting at ground zero. For that person that is out there that is, teetering whether they want to go directly into the workforce or go to college, I would say, going back to something I mentioned earlier, truly explore what it means to choose a college and a career.
So true.
And embedded in a lot of our colleges, all depending on what your major is, career technical major at the TCAT or community college, or even a Bachelor of Science major at the university, you likely have an opportunity to do a work-based learning opportunity. I spoke about a co-op experience. Also in my master's level program, I was an intern or a graduate assistant at the Tennessee Board of Regents, which that's what gave me my in. So exploring those possibilities as well. Do not take those opportunities off the table for yourself, because those are what we consider to be earn and learn models. Encourage you to go into a college based on the career that you want to be in and explore those earn and learn models while you're working on that degree.
Man, Dr. Hollins, you just dropped some major gems. I think so many times students think it should be one or the other, but I like how you said there's multiple pathways to really get into where you're trying to get to. Again, it just comes with the knowledge. And so you dropped some major gems for students and parents. So like you said, you can have both, right? And really there's colleges, and especially here in Tennessee, that are really creating so many different pathways in order to help you to reach those various destinations as far as your career. So again, thank you for sharing that knowledge. with that being said, can you believe we're at the end of the interview? I want to continue. We need a part two. We need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. I was like, no, I'm good. But again, I want to thank you for joining the podcast today, Dr. Hollins. And again, students and parents, please share this video, the knowledge that was dropped today. Man, I'm even taking so many notes. And so again, share the video, comment. Dr. Hollins is going to be watching the comment section to respond to some of those comments. But again, I will see you same time next Wednesday at the same place. And again, thank you for joining the podcast, How to Play the Game of College.
Thank you.